All right, let's talk the tricky triangle, which is known as Pocono. We're going to do the Cup Series preview video right here. Whoops, give me one second here. Let's dive into it. So, yeah, with the tricky triangle, if you don't know, Pocono is shaped like a triangle, hence why they call it the tricky triangle. So it's only got 3 turns. It's pretty long. It's a 2.5 mile long flat track. Because of that, we only have 160 laps, basically almost half of the amount of laps that we saw at New Hampshire last weekend. So because of that, all the dominator points are basically cut in half. So you got 40 points for laps led and 72 points up for grabs for fast laps. And often, sometimes we see fuel mileage playing a big part in the, how the race plays out. So Pocono is kind of interesting. There isn't necessarily a track on the schedule that you can really compare it to. We used to always look at Indy when they were running the Brickyard 400 as a comparable track type, but we now know that they're running the Indy Grand Prix, which is the road course. So you can't really use that as a data point. And we have the next gen cars this year as well. So a little bit of an unknown coming into this weekend, but generally it's a pretty high horsepower track. Usually the cars that have the good equipment are going to run well. All the 3 turns are relatively unique. They're all shaped after different tracks. So it's a pretty technical, tough track to get around. It really suits, drivers that are very skillful. So just real quickly, what are we going to look at? Who are some drivers we like coming into this weekend? Kyle Busch is the most expensive. Like him a lot, is out of the JGR guys. He would probably be my favorite play of the JGR stable, and then probably jumping down to Christopher Bell, just because Bell is significantly cheaper. Bell has momentum. They just won New Hampshire, and Bell was actually one of the drivers who did a tire test at Pocono earlier in the year. So he does have some laps in the next gen car at this track. He has some data points to work off of. He's significantly cheaper than all of his JGR teammates. But you can see that Draftkings thinks that JGR is going to have a very good day with how aggressively they priced the 4 drivers out of that stable. After JGR, I really am high on Chase Elliott and Ross Chastain. Those are 2 drivers I think I really want to build around. They have been, I think, in the most optimal lineups of the Cup Series so far this year. Chase Elliott is the points leader. He's just been on an absolute tear as of late. Ross Chastain, we know how fast Trackhouse has been, especially at these, I don't want to say Pocono is an intermediate track, but at these kind of, intermediate style tracks where, the speeds are a lot higher. So I really like Elliott. I really like Chastain. I like the discount that you're getting off of Kyle Busch there. And then I'm going to jump all the way down to William Byron. Byron's been a guy who's been struggling a little bit as of late. So I think you can make the same argument for Bowman, who we'll get to later. But, people have kind of a bad taste in their mouth right now. They don't feel too confident about plugging those drivers in. So we might get ownership a little bit lower than we normally would when it comes to some of these drivers. Now, DraftKings has also been pricing them down, which doesn't necessarily help because it makes it a lot easier for DFS players to click on those guys. But getting a Hendrick Motorsports, equipment and a driver at $9,200, and then Alex Bowman almost, more than $1,000 cheaper at $8,100. Like, I don't really care too much about how they've been performing recently. You kind of have to, you can focus on that on a little bit, but it's a new slate, it's a new day, it's a new race, it's a new weekend. So, I'm not too worried to go there. So, like I said, I really like Elliott and Chastain out of the top range. And then if you can grab Byron and then maybe a Bowman, some combination of that, I think will work pretty good. Or some of the other guys I have highlighted in green. Getting down to the 7K range, really like the value here as well. Suarez was another driver who made it to the tire test earlier this year. So he has some data points to work off of. We know how fast he's been running as of late. Gives you a really nice discount off of Ross Chastain. He's been finishing pretty well. Eric Jones is going to be my other interest there. Eric Jones that team's been showing up with some pretty good speed. I like the price there, and potentially a nice pivot option off of the chalky Bowman, Suarez, and potentially even the Almirola play. and then getting down to kind of the value range, I really like Chris Buescher, Ricky Stenhouse. I'm even going to highlight McDowell here as well. I think these would be my 3 plays out of the 6K range. Depending on how low you want to go, you might need one of those or 2 of those drivers in your line. And then getting down to the punt range, it'll kind of just depend on where these guys start. But looking at just upside alone, or who you kind of feel the most confident in, or how they're priced, I think Todd Gilliland's going to be the chalk play there. So those are the drivers I kind of want to have as my core, at least coming into this weekend. Again, practice and qualifying can change everything. So just a preview videos of guys that we like coming into the week. We will adjust the spreadsheet and post it on Twitter. It's at FastCarsFM, and we will also get a final picks video posted for everybody. But yeah, that'll do it. And we've got a busy weekend ahead of us with all 3 series on track.